Today, we will explore a transformative and holistic understanding of the universe's fundamental forces, interactions, and the very nature of reality itself, the theory of gauge emanation. This theory challenges the reductionist paradigm that has dominated much of modern physics and presents a more integrated, relational, and continuous approach to understanding the forces of nature. It builds on both ancient philosophical ideas of emanation and modern physics concepts, particularly the framework of gauge theory. In this exploration, we will journey through the unfolding of the universe's fundamental forces as a progressive, layered emanation. We will see how this perspective can explain not just the classical forces, but also time, gravity, and even the mysterious phenomena we term dark matter and dark energy. What is emanation? Let us begin by defining emanation. The concept of emanation originates in ancient philosophical traditions, particularly Neoplatonism, where reality is viewed as flowing or unfolding from a single unified source. This source is often referred to as the One, or the ultimate principle. Emanation is not a breaking apart or disintegration, but rather a continuous process of differentiation, where different layers of reality emerge from a single, undivided whole. In the context of modern physics, we often describe the forces of nature as arising through symmetry breaking, a process where a unified force breaks into distinct forces as the universe cools. This terminology, however, gives the impression of fragmentation. Instead, I propose we view this process as emanation, a continuous differentiation from a unified source, with each force, each field, being a reflection of a deeper underlying unity. Emanation 1, the strong nuclear force. The strong nuclear force is the foundation upon which the entire structure of matter is built. It is the first emanation and governs the interactions between quarks to form protons and neutrons, the building blocks of atomic nuclei. At the subatomic level, quarks are held together by gluons, which are the carriers of the strong force described by the gauge symmetry SU3. This force is immensely powerful, operating over very short distances, but with tremendous binding energy. Without it, the existence of protons and neutrons, let alone atoms, would be impossible. It's important to understand that this first emanation represents the most fundamental cohesion in the universe. It binds matter at its deepest level, forming the core constituents that will eventually give rise to larger structures. Think of this as the initial condensation of reality, where raw energy is shaped into particles that can hold form. This is the universe taking its first step toward material complexity. Emanation 2. The weak nuclear force. The next layer of emanation introduces instability and transformation, essential for the evolution of matter. This is the weak nuclear force, the second emanation, which governs radioactive decay and enables the transformation of one type of particle into another. Without this force, processes like beta decay, where neutrons transform into protons and vice versa, would not occur. The weak force operates at the heart of nuclear processes such as those that fuel stars, and it is also responsible for the balance between protons and neutrons within atomic nuclei. Its gauge symmetry is described by SU2, and it acts over even shorter distances than the strong force, but it is essential for the transformation of matter and the production of elements beyond hydrogen. In a cosmic sense, this force acts as an agent of change. While the strong force is about stability and cohesion, the weak force allows for the evolution of complexity by permitting certain particles to transmute, enabling the diversity of elements that will later form planets, stars, and living organisms. Emanation 3. The electromagnetic force. Next, as we move outward in scale, we encounter the electromagnetic force, the third emanation. This force governs the interactions between charged particles, particularly electrons and protons, and is described by U1, gauge symmetry. Whereas the strong and weak forces operate within the atomic nucleus, the electromagnetic force acts across a greater range, organizing electrons around the nucleus to form atoms. This force is responsible for the formation of chemical bonds and the entire structure of molecular chemistry. Without the electromagnetic force, atoms could not form, and thus no matter as we know it could exist. It is the force responsible for the visible universe, the light we see, the energy we use, and the physical interactions we experience on a daily basis. It is both a unifier and a communicator, allowing particles to interact across space and giving rise to the vast complexity of chemistry, biology, and technology. Emanation 4. The Directional Temporal Force. Now we come to the fourth emanation, and here things take a more abstract but crucial turn. This is the Directional Temporal Force, which governs the arrow of time, the unfolding of events in a specific direction from past to future. This emanation is not often treated as a force in classical physics, but in the theory of gauge emanation, it is essential for enabling causality and non-linear interactions. Time is the framework that allows events to be ordered, making it possible to distinguish between causal sequences and non-linear phenomena. Without this directional flow, matter would exist in a state of stasis or chaotic flux, with no differentiation between cause and effect. Time enables processes like the decay of unstable nuclei, the interaction of electromagnetic waves, and the flow of energy from one form to another. In essence, the directional temporal force acts as the organizer of processes, allowing the prior three forces to interact over time and making the universe's evolution coherent. It allows for the emergence of systems that are more than the sum of their parts, such as life and complex ecosystems, which rely on both causal chains and feedback loops. Emanation 5, the gravitational force. Finally, we arrive at gravity, the fifth emanation. Gravity is the most encompassing of the forces, extending its influence across the vast distances of the cosmos, binding galaxies, stars, and planetary systems together. Governed by Einstein's theory of general relativity, gravity is traditionally seen as the weakest force, but it plays a far more integrative role than we might initially imagine. In the theory of gauge emanation, gravity is the force of inclusivity. It does not merely pull masses together, it weaves together space and time, creating the stage on which all other forces act. Gravity connects distant objects in ways that are simultaneous and inclusive, not just linear. It enables the structure of the universe to remain cohesive on a cosmic scale, forming galaxies, black holes, and clusters of matter. Moreover, gravity helps explain non-local connections, how vast systems remain coherent over space and time. It is through gravity that we observe phenomena like gravitational lensing and the expansion of the universe. In the context of gauge emanation, gravity is not merely an attractive force, but a field of connection, uniting systems that would otherwise be isolated in space. Additional emanatory fields, coherence of large structures. Now let us address a key phenomenon observed in cosmology, the coherence of large structures, galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and other cosmic formations that cannot be fully explained by the gravitational forces of the visible matter alone. Traditionally, this has led to the postulation of dark matter, an unseen substance that is said to provide the missing gravitational pull necessary to hold these structures together. However, in the theory of gauge emanation, we do not presume the existence of unobservable particles or forces like dark matter. Instead, we propose that the observed coherence of these large structures is explained by the interactions of fields emanating from higher dimensions. These fields operate beyond the traditional four-dimensional space-time we experience, yet they influence the relationships between the visible cosmological objects. In this framework, galaxies and clusters are not simply held together by the gravitational force alone. Instead, they are connected by higher dimensional fields that influence their interactions, keeping them in coherent relationships. These fields could explain the stability and dynamics of large structures without the need for new, unseen sources of gravity. The strong, weak electromagnetic, temporal, and gravitational forces we experience in our familiar dimensions are just the observable manifestations of these deeper, multidimensional fields. Thus, the apparent gravitational shortfall that we observe in galaxies is not due to missing matter, but rather a misunderstanding of the full scope of the field dynamics that are governing the relationships between these cosmic objects. The coherence is the result of these higher-order field interactions which act across vast distances, subtly shaping the structures of the universe in ways that transcend traditional gravitational models. Additional emanatory fields, expansionary pressure. The second cosmological puzzle we encounter is the observation of accelerating cosmic expansion. This has traditionally been explained by postulating dark energy, an unknown force or substance exerting a kind of expansionary pressure on the fabric of the universe, causing galaxies to move away from each other at increasing speeds. Again, the theory of gauge emanation offers an alternative. Rather than invoking dark energy as an unexplained source of expansion, we propose that the expansionary pressure is an inherent property of the same higher dimensional fields that govern the coherence of large structures. These fields, extending beyond the observable dimensions, influence not only the relationships between cosmological objects, but also the expansion dynamics of space-time itself. In this view, the expansion of the universe is a natural result of the field interactions emanating from these higher dimensions. As these fields evolve and influence the cosmic web, they generate the observed expansionary pressure. What appears to us as an acceleration in the expansion of the universe is, in fact, the unfolding of field interactions on a cosmic scale. This explanation aligns with the overall coherence we observe and eliminates the need for a mysterious new form of energy or force. Fields as cosmic connective tissue. Ultimately, the theory of gauge emanation suggests that the cosmos is not governed by discrete, isolated forces or hypothetical new particles, but by fields that permeate and organize the universe at all levels of scale. These fields are not limited to the four-dimensional space-time continuum, but extend into higher dimensions, influencing the observable universe in ways that cannot be directly detected through traditional means. The phenomena we observe, such as the coherence of large cosmic structures and the accelerating expansion, are not evidence of missing matter or new forms of energy. Instead, they are the natural outcomes of the higher dimensional fields that govern the relationships between all objects in the universe. These fields provide the connective tissue that explains the interactions of galaxies, stars, and other large-scale structures without needing to invoke dark matter or dark energy. By recognizing these higher dimensional field interactions, we can begin to form a more unified and coherent understanding of the universe, one that moves beyond the limitations of current models based on gravitational shortfalls or expansion anomalies. This approach offers a more holistic view of the cosmos, where all forces and phenomena are interconnected within a framework of field-based relationships that emanate from deeper, multidimensional realities. A unified vision through gauge emanation. In conclusion, the theory of gauge emanation provides a profound shift in our understanding of the universe. It allows us to move beyond the reductionist approach that relies on unseen matter and energy, and instead invites us to explore the field-based relationships that govern all interactions in the cosmos. The coherence of galaxies and the accelerating expansion of space are not mysteries to be solved by hypothetical substances, but are instead manifestations of higher dimensional field interactions. These fields bind and shape the universe in ways that transcend our traditional understanding of forces like gravity and time, allowing for a unified, continuous emanation of the physical and cosmological structures we observe. By embracing this holistic vision, we open the door to a deeper understanding of the universe's true nature, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of all things through the fields that emanate from higher dimensions, organizing and sustaining the vast cosmic web.